Glorious Korea lovers, 안녕하세요. This is 이지은, 지니 Gloriously. Today is the second episode of Glorious Korea, which is learning how to read in Korea. Throughout the weeks and months, we are going to learn how to read and write Korean. And to start, I'm going to tell you some stories or share with you a story of 훈민정음, which is the story, which is the language we're using right now, Korean language. 훈민정음 actually was first released in December of 1443. And the second edition was published 1446. Which is the ruling year of King Sejong's 25th and 28th year. King Sejong was the fourth king of Joseon dynasty, and his name was actually Lee-do. The Joseon dynasty, the founder, Taejo, had sons, many sons, and the first son, Yangnyeong, which actually my mother's side of family, wasn't very suitable to be a king. So the third son became the king. And King Sejong, as you may know, is the great King Sejong, who had many establishments, and still considered one of the greatest king among Jeongjo and other kings. King Sejong actually wanted to provide his people with many things like science and things, especially the letters as well. 훈민정음, like I wrote here, is in Chinese. It's called teach. Min, hun actually is to teach, and min is a people, and 정 is a right or correct. And the sound, means sound. It's a correct sound. Long time ago, Korea, the Chinese actually was the father country, and we had to, use Chinese characters and other many things. We had to report everything to China, the emperor of China. So only the educated were able to write and read and write something like this, a Chinese character, 훈민정음, and Lee-do, the language. But the women and uneducated weren't able to read or write, so they're considered. And King Sejong thought, how poor, because you're so, why don't I, create something that would help everybody? So with the first book in 1443, December, it was actually, the first published book. And then 1446, September, we had what's called 해례본, which means to explain, 해석, explain what the meaning was. King Sejong set out to make 훈민정음, the Korean language, with the scholars from Jipyeonjeon. Jipyeonjeon actually is the institute where scholars, 8 scholars, the leading scholars who actually developed the 훈민정음 together with King Sejong. The names were 정인지, 신숙주, 성상문, 최항, 박팽년, 신설로, 강희안, And not least, 이계, my father's side of family, 한산이. So they were the scholars. 훈민정음 is the seventh national treasure of Korea. And also in UNESCO, they created what's called 세종대왕상, the prize. And then in 1989, the UNESCO actually signed or they announced the 훈민정음 or Korean language as a world heritage. It's a very scientific language, and it's an amazing language. I would like to share with you a part of what King Sejong wrote in 해례본 explaining why he made 훈민정음. 나란만 쌈이 균국에 달아 문자어로 서로 삼았디 아니할세. 이런 전차로 어린 백성이 읽어줘 홀빼이셔도 자로 삼았디 아니할세. 이런 전차로 어린 백성이 I used to know this. We used to study this all the time at school. Even Korean middle school, high school, elementary, we learned this, and then part of our educational history. So it basically means our language is different from the speaking language is different from the writing language. So because of it, idle people, even though they want to learn or they want to, know something, the knowledge, but they cannot do it because they don't know. Some people make sins, some people, cause crimes because they don't know what's right at the time. So King Sejong thought, he loved his people. So he thought, you know what? If they know how to read and write, they will know, they'll be educated, and then they won't make mistakes, right? So he wanted people to learn and then use the language to be convenient, and then help people, live better. That's a reason he created 훈민정음 for Korean people, our ancestor. Let's take a look at Hangul. Okay, I'm gonna just erase this. When Hangul was first made, it actually had 28 letters. He actually said in his thing, 맹가노니, I made 28자를 맹가노니, 편히 쉽이 익혀 편히 쓰도록 하노니라. I don't remember quite, but still, that's what it meant. He made 28 letters. The reason 훈민정음 in Korean language is so scientific is because it established, or it resembled the sounds around him. For instance, we have consonants. Spell it right. I always have, dizziness in front of camera. Even though I'm alone, I feel dizzy. Consonants, and we have vowels. Right? Guess how many consonants we have? We have 18 consonants. And we have 10 vowels. Okay? So let's see, we have ka, na, 1400s when Sejong first made it. This here actually was what's called areha. So it changed a lot since then. And then we adapted the new way or changed a little bit and was created. For instance, we take a look at, we are going to actually talk about it in the next episode of Korean, but the sound of King Sejong and Jipyeonjeon, the scholars of Jipyeonjeon also use what's around them, the shape of our mouth. Just like English, we have vowels, consonants. We have how we pronounce things. It's close to. It's similar to what it is. So, for instance, b, k, m is the b, k, m is the shape of mouth. Yeah. Okay, and then j, t, s is the teeth, shape of teeth, and h, is the shape of the throat. Okay, and then so 28. Nowadays 24. Modern days. Okay. So let me just erase the consonants. We're going to talk about it later again. So the vowels. How many? So consonants we have 18 a long time ago, including what's called areha, and then vowels we have 10. The first one, it starts with a, ya, o, yo, o, yo. Let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yo, 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 you, oo, you, you. Yeah. Oh, we're missing this. Okay. A long time ago, this was actually the start. And then, let me see. Yeah, oh, yeah, oh. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And we have, let me see. What am I missing? Oh, simple. This. And this actually is very important. Let me just get the red marker and then write it for you. This one and this one. Right? Right. Well, the vowels. Ya, o, yo, oo, you. Guess what they're made, from resemble. This one. Hunmin정 also, if you heard taegukgi, like in our Korean flag, there's a red and blue kind of circle. It's called taeguk. It also followed the, theory of taeguk. Also, sorry. So, and also, it also followed the yang plus minus men and women. Um, so this actually means land. Ooh, ooh. Does it look a little bit like land? And then this E, which means land, people. You know how people look like. Okay? Now, when 훈민정음 and the first it was made, a lot of Korean books or the stories or the poems were made, including what's called 용비 어천가. And then what else do we have? We had, see if I can remember correctly, 삽보성전 and then 월인청강지고. A little bit too hard for you to know, but still, as I was young in high school, I learned those, especially 용비 어천가. It's about the kings, the dragon, fly, 용비, 천, to the sky. So it's a very interesting. But Korean old history, people wanted to, it was a male-dominant society, and then it was the time of class. We had the king, the royals, and then we had the scholars, the nobles, and then we had the the commoners, and then the peasants. So we had the system where only the kings and nobility used the Chinese character. And then when King Sejong created, there was kind of some disputes. People weren't very happy. And also it was male-dominant society, so women didn't, have the language. They weren't able to read. No education for women. Just for the exception of few special women who knew how to read and write. So Hangul actually was a woman's language when it first created. It was called Amgul, which means female language. Right? It was easy to make, and until I think the end of the Joseon Dynasty, which was the 1800s, before the Japanese rulement, a lot of things, a lot of literature, poetry, everything was done in Hangul by women a lot of times. Even for women who live in the palaces, who work for the king. This is called kumyo. So, in the next episode, we are going to learn how to read Korean with these characters. But today, I'm just gonna show you, just like English, not like English, but Korean. If you have vowel and consonants, it's going to make a sound. That's why it's so easy. If you memorize the vowels, if you memorize the consonants, if you put it together, it makes a sound. For instance, what should we learn? Okay, the word Ido, the name of King Sejong. E. Okay, so this actually sound plus E, and O, do, E, Anyway, so it's a Ito. Do you now understand what it is? Plus, so Korean is very scientific. It's the language of sound. It's created by combining consonant and vowel together to make sounds. That's why it's so easy to learn. So our next episode, we are going to actually read how to, learn how to read and write Korean. For instance, I'm going to, have like the letters for you, give examples, okay? And then we are going to actually try to learn together. Sounds good? I know a lot of my viewers know how to read Korean. It's very simple. I taught my friends. And they got it really easily, just like 1 or 2 days if you're really, really smart. But, as long as you understand the logic behind the Korean language, Hangul. One more example. This is a little bit complicated. Sorry, I shouldn't write like that. Still see? Okay. Are you see? What you have here? Ha, an, han. Okay, han. And this one, let's see if you see it here. 그, Okay, so 그 plus plus So it becomes 그. Okay, sounds fair enough? Not hard? Okay, so next week, I am going to come back with Korean cooking. Alright, and then maybe the week after, I thought of something more special for our channel. So let's see what we can do. Alright, again, we are at a time of pandemic, and I thought maybe I could provide you with something interesting and then something useful for learning Korean, or anything that you want to know about Korean. Like I said, if you know the language, if you know how to read, you could do many things. You will understand what it's about. You'll be able to find yourself when you're lost in the subway, bus, instructions when you buy things. It's so much easier for you. That's why I wanted to learn Korean. Okay, if you're interested, if you want to visit Korea, if you want to, probably someday want to live in Korea after the pandemic, it will be great. So yeah. Okay, well, I hope I made your time a little bit worthwhile. The first part was a little bit too complicated, nothing for you to worry about. It's just a history. Not to worry, you don't have to remember it all. So just after the second episode of Let's Learn Korean, we're just going to have very plain, simple, learning Korean. Okay, until next time, my glorious Korean lovers, have a good week. Bye-bye.